Boat gave a big shudder. Seems we docked at the harbor. Boat driver came out and jumped to the pier with the mooring rope. A large man in a tuxedo was waiting there for us with a warm smile. I didn't recognize his face, but judging by his clothes, I guess he was a servant of the Ushiromiya head household. Welcome home, milady. You were so late in returning that I began to worry. Ah, thanks for caring. This moron got so scared we had to slow down. It was seriously annoying. Shut up. Someday, when the shoe's on the other foot, you'll remember this. Ugh. At this rate, word will spread to the whole family and I'll be the big conversation piece during dinner. Even without this, everyone would be talking about me because of that 6-year gap. Now I've given them an even juicier topic. Damn it, why does the Ushiromiya head family have to live on this isolated island? In the meantime, the boat had finished its mooring. A small plank was lowered so that we could get down. One by one, our parents came up from inside the boat. You must all be quite tired from your long trip. Madame, please allow me to assist you. Thank you. It's been a while, Goda-san. How are you? I thank you for your concern. It is always my pleasure to serve. Battler-kun, isn't this your first time meeting Goda-san? If I'm not mistaken, you weren't working here 6 years ago, right? Indeed. So please, allow me to greet him for the first time. It's an honor to meet you, Battler-sama. I'm pretty confident about my height, but you're huge. This is definitely our first meeting. I'd never forget meeting a big guy like you. It's a pleasure. I'm Battler. I was looking forward to meeting you. I am Goda, your servant, and I have been working for the Ushiromiya head family since the year before last. It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. If there is anything you need, please feel free to rely on me at any time. Goda-san, it's been some time. It's been too long, George-sama. Please, allow me to assist you. As usual, you're a pro at welcoming guests. If you ever need a job, just let me know, okay? I'd hire you anytime. You do me too much honor. Please allow me to assist you, Hideyoshi-sama. Goda-san then lent a hand to everyone as they disembarked, greeting them as they passed. His speech and mannerisms had the refined polish of a professional. He was very graceful, in contrast with his initially tough-looking appearance. His large size made him seem a bit scary at first, but he was much more polite than my first impression had led me to believe. He claimed to have served on the island for 2 years, but he had doubtless worked at similar jobs somewhere before. After everyone disembarked, the mooring rope was untied and the boat started to steer away from the harbor. It was probably returning to its home port on Nijima. The captain waved his hand in farewell. Maria conscientiously waved her hand back. Now that I think about it, that must be why I felt something out of place for a while now. I can't hear the cries of the seagulls. Seagulls? The birds? If I remember correctly, whenever we came to this island in the past, the seagulls always greeted us with their lively nya nya cries. Because of that, whenever I hear the cries of seagulls anywhere else, I get the feeling that I'm coming to a family conference. Except for the small part of the island where those of the Ushiromiya head family live, Rokanjima has been left uncultivated, which apparently makes it a paradise for wild birds. Supposedly, there was a cliff somewhere that housed a huge seagull colony, so this island was always full of seagulls. Not having those seagulls here to greet us made me feel a bit lonely. What's wrong, Battler-kun? Oh, Aunt Rosa. Nah, it's nothing really. I just think it's a bit lonely without the cries of the seagulls. Why, that's true now that you mention it. Even though they're always so noisy, today there isn't one to be seen. Ooh? Why no seagulls? Maybe it's because the seagulls are having a get-together somewhere too. Maria, did you want to see the seagulls? Ooh, wanted to see them. Still, it's a bit strange there isn't even a single one around. Maybe Jessica grilled them all and ate them. Ooh! The hell, don't say disturbing stuff like that. You'll get Maria believing it. Ooh! Jessica Oni-chan grilled them! Jessica Oni-chan grilled them! Ooh! I did not! I did not! Why the hell would I do something like that? That's right, that's right. Jessica grilled them. Skin and meatballs, liver and onions. Swim in meat dolls. Liver and onion. Woo! Ha! Ha! As I made fun of Jessica, Maria tagged along, looking like she was having fun. Oh, I never guessed she was such a good sport. Alrighty then, from today on, I'll make you my #1 follower. As I smiled at her, she beamed, looking overjoyed, possibly because she was happy about this little connection we'd made with each other. That's not it, Maria-chan. I've heard wild birds are attuned to changes in the weather and atmospheric pressure. The weather will probably get worse tonight. Seagulls might have returned to their nests early. Ooh. Not grilled? Jessica One-chan didn't grill them? No. I wouldn't do something like that. Battler, you admit right now that you lied. Battler-kun. Maria-chan is a naive girl, so she takes even jokes seriously. You should choose your jokes more carefully. George and Aniki gently scolded me. Even though I outstripped Aniki in height, Aniki was Aniki, of course. There was no choice but to obediently apologize. Sure, my bad. Maria, that was a joke. Seagulls are all taking it easy in their nests today, that's all. Battler lied? Georgia Ni-chan told the truth? Has she actually been tricked despite all the fun she was having? Her pure eyes made me feel guilty. Maybe I went a little overboard with her after all. Yeah, that's right. What George Aniki said is true. The weather's bad, so they probably went home for the day. Doesn't mean they're gone. Right, Aunt Rosa? That's right. Tomorrow, when the weather gets better, I'm sure they'll come back so we can hear them cry meow, meow, like they always do. Ooh. I'll wait till the weather gets better, then they come back. Gonna wait till tomorrow. Gonna wait until the weather's better. Ooh. Maria was in lighter mood and was looking forward to tomorrow when the seagulls would come back and fill the skies. Still, George Aniki really was amazing at taking care of the kids. I think I remember Aniki taking good care of me as well when I was a brat 6 years ago. Aniki, that's probably your gift. George-kun is amazing at taking care of young kids. If you wanted to, I bet you'd do a great job with child care, don't you think? Yeah, it's almost like George Nissan was born to do something like that. Personally, I think that'd suit you better than doing business in some company president's office. Oh no. Childcare is a fine career path, but it's not a job where merely liking children is enough. You really are modest, George-kun. But Battler-kun is quite good with children too. Just a second ago, even though it didn't last long, Maria seemed to be having a lot of fun. Please, keep on playing with her like you did just now. Just choose your jokes more carefully, okay? Aunt Rosa winked at me, giggling a little. She's a real mother, I thought to myself, who's happy to see Maria having fun. Come on, Rosa. And you brats too, what the hell are you doing? Let's get going. Okay, we're coming. The old bastard was waving for us to hurry up. Yeah, we needed to get moving. We might as well have this conversation after setting our luggage down in our rooms. Now then, everyone, allow me to lead you to the guest house, where you'll be spending the night. Please, this way. Goto-san called to everyone and led the way. Kumasawa-san brought up the rear. A serpentine twisting path led through the dim forest. It ran a bit uphill. I guess the path was made all twisty so the slope wouldn't seem too steep. But personally, I'd have been happier if they'd had the guts to make some stairs in a straight line. No doubt they made the path twist on purpose to put on airs of distance and importance. Before long, we saw garden-style stone steps. Ah, from here on, I do have some memories. Go up these and... At the top of the stone steps, we saw a beautiful guest house. Its facade was lovely, of course, but more importantly, couldn't enter its doors without having our hearts stolen away by the splendor of the beautiful rose garden spreading before it. Ah, it's as beautiful as ever this year. Real delight for the eyes. After climbing the stone steps, the people greeted by the rose garden gave voice to their impressions one by one. Is it just me, or are the flowers a little less lively this year? Probably because it wasn't that hot this summer. I also believe that was a factor. Sadly, this year's blooming is a tad inferior when compared to last year's. Even so, it was a delightful rose garden. I remembered that even 6 years ago, huge numbers of roses had greeted us every year. This rose garden was the first thing that greeted the people who came to Rokonjima. Even our parents, who came every year, couldn't help but give voice to their admiration. In fact, it seemed to have undergone a power-up from the garden in my memories of 6 years ago. The place is always so amazing. It would be wonderful to have a rose garden like this at home. Give it up. Who do you think would take care of it? Roses are a real pain with bugs and diseases to worry about. Well, from what I've heard, Kyrie Nissan takes care of her rose every day and makes sure no bugs get anywhere near it, right? Huh? What are you talking about? That's right. Though in this person's case, the rose...
Received. Apparently you were doing something right, Captain.
Thank you so much, Pixie, for the resub.
See you soon. Ominous music.
Oh, no. No ominous music. Thank you so much, Pix. That's right, though in this person's case, the rose goes after the insects like some nasty carnivorous plant. Oh, so that's what you mean. Come on, Rosa, can't you give that a rest for just today? I've put that sort of thing completely behind me. What fabric are you talking about, Pixie? I wonder... Oh, actually, I know what fabric you were talking about, never mind. I wonder, after all, you're a womanizer on an almost genetic level. No need to worry, Rosa-san. When a rose gives you too much trouble, it's always best to snip at the root. Oh, such frightening talk this is. Guys who are popular with the ladies are always forced to live dangerously. I sure hope I turn out a bit prettier in my next life. Hideyoshi Nissan, like I keep saying, it isn't like that at all. And Kyrie, stop it! You're freaking me out. You've made my rose wilt. Hey Maria-chan, look over here. These roses are especially magnificent. Magnificent roses. Ooh. Smells pretty sweet. Look, this suits my elegance perfectly. Hey, cut it out. Maria's gonna imitate you and get hurt by the thorns. She yelled at me as I leaned in to smell the rose's scent with an exaggerated gesture. I thought she was overreacting, but when I turned around, I saw Maria imitating my every gesture and Georgiana-ki smiling broadly at us. Hey now, Maria-chan, be careful. Rose thorns can hurt. Ooh? Georgiana-chan, only this rose is strange. Ooh. Strange? What's wrong? Maria pointed at a single rose. I immediately understood why she found it odd. In the midst of all these magnificent roses, one single rose was just starting to wilt. There wasn't any particular reason. Some roses flourish and others wilt. That's all there was to it, but Maria seemed very concerned about the only unhealthy one in the group. Must have made her feel lonely. So you feel sad for this rose because it's the only one that isn't healthy? Ooh. The others are all healthy, but this one's sad. Well, they all bloom and wither at their own paces. I'll bet this one's just starting to wilt early because it got to bloom before any of the others. Yeah, that's right. Probably just bloomed like crazy, fulfilled its duty, and went to sleep. Shouldn't get too worked up about it. Ooh. It seemed that Maria's pure sensitive nature was making her feel some emotional pain for the rose that wilted alone. Even though she understood the logic of it, it still felt lonely to her. Then Maria-chan, why don't you look after this rose until we leave? Ooh? Georgiana-ki straightened up and felt around his pocket, then took out the wrapper from the candy he had been sucking on the plane. He twisted it into a thin string and gently tied it to the rose as a sort of marker. Hey, that's pretty cute. Let's mark it with this. Later on, you can come and give it some water. I'm sure Mr. Rose will be happy. Ooh! Come to give it water! I think you should give Mr. Rose here a name. I'm sure it'll make it happy, and you'll get to know it a little better. A name? A name. Boo. Though she still wore her usual sullen face, Maria crossed her arms and began to consider this intently. At the very least, she appeared to have been completely pulled out of her slump. Nice going, Aniki. George Nissan has always been really understanding. Can't help but respect him. Yeah, I guess he was just born that way. We've got to start picking up tips. Was this garden just as magnificent when you all were kids? It was only after I stopped living here that it grew so big. Before that, the garden was simpler, though I'm still attached to that one. Nissan fiddled with it too much with that vaguely bad taste of his. I liked it much better before. Eva, you've got to think positive. Setting aside how it used to look, its beauty now is something to be admired. You'll be able to relax a lot better if you look at it that way. I didn't mean it like that. I was just saying that I wanted you to see this garden the way it was before, too. Everyone, if you'd please, I shall guide you to your rooms now. Goda-san called to everyone to ask if we were ready, but our hearts had been completely stolen away by the rose garden that none of us had seen for a year, so we didn't pay much attention to him. Since we weren't a travel group, it wasn't like we had a strict schedule to follow. Besides, since our parents were visiting their old home, full of nostalgia, it wasn't like they had to let themselves be urged on by anyone or anything. Understanding the situation, Goda-san continued to wait, smiling widely, until our parents got tired of the roses and told him to guide us to our rooms. Oh? Hey! It isn't Kanan-kun! It's been so long, how are you doing? Uncle Hideyoshi suddenly shouted. In the direction he was waving was a slender boy. Meeting him right after a huge man like Goda probably emphasized his small stature. The boy was in the middle of transporting piled up gardening tools and the like in a wheelbarrow. When he realized he was being called to stop, he set down the wheelbarrow, took off his hat off, and bowed his head. Good afternoon. I figured he was probably younger than me, and I realized by the general atmosphere surrounding him that he was another servant. He greeted us in response to Uncle Hideyoshi's call, but he seemed like he might be pretty unsociable most of the time. It was a greeting that lacked feeling. When Goda-san noticed that our interest had shifted towards him, he went to the boy's side and introduced him to us. Battler-sama, allow me to introduce you. This is one of the servants of the Ushiromiya head household. Kanan-san, greet our guest. I'm pleased to meet you. He does not look pleased. I am the servant, Kanan. Yep, my first impression wasn't wrong. He seemed to be unsociable, or at least not so good at talking. Compared to Goda-san, who was extraordinarily polished as a servant, you couldn't help but feel an inexperience typical of his age. When Goda-san urged him in a whisper to give a bit more of an introduction, the boy named Kanan only cast his eyes downward. Kanan-san, could you perhaps give them a little more of a greeting? No. Because we are furniture. He didn't seem to be refusing to greet us out of spite. Rather, he seemed to have fallen silent because he didn't know what else to say to us in greeting. Well, Kanan-kun's shy and doesn't tend to talk much. He might not be that sociable, but deep down he's a really good person. Don't get him wrong. You've been working here for 3 years now, haven't you? Pretty sure you started a year before Goda-san, right? Even though he wasn't exactly giving a terrible first impression, Jessica hurriedly backed him up. I see, apparently his unsociable nature causes him trouble a lot. Okay then, nice to meet you. I'm Battler. I'm 18. How old are you? He fell silent, as though wondering whether or not it was a question he'd have to answer. But here again, Jessica plowed ahead. If I remember correctly, Kenan's 2 years younger than us, so 16, right? Yes, that is correct. It looked like he would have preferred not to tell us his age if given the choice. That was probably because he thought we'd look down on him for it. I remember that was... I remember that when I was around his age, I hated being asked how old I was by adults. I see, 16, huh? That's gotta be a delicate time. which means I probably asked something I shouldn't have. Hey, I'm glad you're about our age. Just be cool and call me Battler. And I'll call you Cannon. Thank you very much. The sentiment alone is sufficient, Battler-sama. Jessica looked panicky for some reason. She seemed to think my impression of Cannon was getting worse because of his refusal. Well, as a girl, Jessica probably couldn't understand the fretful male heart at this age. As his elder, even by just 2 years, I took it upon myself to be understanding of that. Cannon-san, could you perhaps be a little more courteous? A smiling face is also a part of a servant's duty. My apologies. I shall make an effort. Oh, Goto-san, Cannon-kun is trying his best, yes? Looked like he was often warned about being unsociable. Apparently, he hadn't improved one bit. Goto-san kept his business smile, but let a small sigh of resignation escape. Well then, I still have work to do. If you'll excuse me. It looked like Cannon himself was uncomfortable with remaining silent here any longer. After another perfunctory bow, he turned around and started pushing the wheelbarrow again. Just then, the wheelbarrow suddenly wobbled and fell, scattering the load. I guess this wheelbarrow's single wheel got caught on a pebble and lost its balance. What do you think you're doing? Now, clean it up quickly. Goto-san urged him to hurry in a quiet voice, as though hinting it was shameful for a servant to appear clumsy in front of guests. Cannon wordlessly reloaded the wheelbarrow with the fallen objects, as if to say that he understood quite well without being told. He seemed to be fine with the light-looking gardening tools, shovels, and such, but it looked like he was having some trouble getting his arms around and lifting some sacks of fertilizer. Are you okay? You're so careless. Here. Lady, you'll dirty your garments. Please, leave this to us. With a smooth motion, Goto-san took the shovel that Jessica had picked up. Behind him, Cannon-kun was having trouble with the sacks of fertilizer. Ooh, you'll dirty your garments? Don't worry, the ones I'm wearing aren't that expensive. Besides, I hate guys who just sit there and make the waitress pick up the fork they dropped at a restaurant. I lifted up the other bags that had fallen. Of course, they weren't light, but for me, it was a piece of cake. Cannon-kun looked at me surprised. It was the face of someone who'd never would have expected to receive help from a guest. Battler-sama, don't worry about it. I will take care of everything, so... Don't you worry. I may not look it, but I've got it where it counts. Hit. Since Cannon-kun looked like he hadn't yet gone through his growth spurt, he was stuck with a sort of weak body. This kind of weight might have been too much for him. Quite heavy. Naturally, it would be difficult for you. Don't worry about it, Cannon-kun. Okay, my time to shine. This makes up for the boat stuff from before, right? Ha! As if this could make up for freaking out like that. Ha! Later, I'll tell you all about it too, Cannon-kun. Battler was totally hilarious. Gonna fall! Gonna fall! Woo! As I did this, I piled all the stuff back into the wheelbarrow. I beg your forgiveness for letting you witness such unsightliness. Come now, that's quite enough. Please go. Letting the guests who were supposed to feel welcome see such a disgraceful thing must have been hideously embarrassing for his servant. Pressed by Goto to hurry up and go, Cannon-kun left. You're too harsh on him, Goto-san. Shouldn't you have helped him instead of being a bully? That was wrong of me. I deeply implore your forgiveness. Without even a twitch in his smile, Goto-san apologized elegantly. Cannon-kun has a ton of things he's good at, too. It's just that being young works against him all the time. Crying shame. Well, it's a prickly age. Let's just leave him be. After all, closed-mouthed servants are the best kind. Isn't that right, Kumasawa-san? Oh, Rudolph-sama, you truly are harsh. There is no servant as silent as me, of course. Everyone smiled wryly at that obvious lie. Even she herself didn't believe that, not in her wildest dreams. So she must have said it to lighten the mood. Yeah, that's the kind of character Kumasawa Ba-chan used to be. The once stiff atmosphere had cleared up at once thanks to her cheerful smile. I'd like to sit down our luggage soon. Goto-san, what rooms are we going to all take? It shall be the same as the previous year. Allow me to guide you. Please, this way. As we headed towards a trim, elegantly simple guest house. This was going to be our temporary quarters for the night. Kenan watched over a hedge as the guests all entered the guest house. Then he let his eyes fall on those heavy sacks of fertilizer piled up in the wheelbarrow. In his mind, he kept going over his previous mistake. Battler, big and strong, had picked up the sacks in front of him. The sacks Kenan couldn't lift himself, as if they were feathers. It would be extremely difficult for an outside observer to guess what emotions that favor had stirred up in Kenan. As far as you could tell by watching him hang his head, there was something that he just couldn't let go of. Muttered words escaped his lips. Those words he murmured were so soft that they didn't reach even his own ears. Even I... Kenan hung his head, slightly biting his lower lip. I remember the rose garden, but I don't remember this guest house at all. Was it built recently? Torian, Visitor's Retreat, was written on a gatepost-like thing, but since everyone called it the guest house, I followed their live. Orion. That's how you say that. The brand new Western-style guest house, which stood overlooking the roses, had a magnificent design, carefully done in harmony with the rest of the garden. Correct! It was built the year before last. Ever since then, they've had us sleep over here. Hey, this place is more fun than the junky old mansion, you know. I wish my room was over here. Ooh, I want a room here too. I want one. I guess you could say my own house was upper class, but to me it felt completely ordinary compared to the head family. The display of wealth was shocking, as was the fact that they'd built this kind of awesome guest house for guests who came over only a few times a year. Eva-sama, Hideyoshi-sama, please do make use of this room. Rudolph-sama, Kirie-sama, please take this room here. Really do love how beautiful and elegant this place is. Western-style architecture truly is wonderful. I can handle Western design for a few days, but any look longer than that, and you need a good old Japanese look. Japanese people just relax best on tatami mats. They've been fighting over whether to make our new house Japanese style or Western style. Mom still holds a grudge about Dad having the construction started with the Japanese layout. They bicker all the time about it. Really jealous, Georgie-san. Your parents get along well, don't they? Mine are so frosty. Then again, they're always in sync when it comes to my grades. All the rooms seemed to be for two people. I was grateful, since I wasn't gonna be forced to share the same room with the old bastard under the pretext we were family. And anyway, I figured those two wouldn't be able to enjoy themselves with someone like me around. Heh. What's with that creepy smile? You're thinking about something dirty, aren't you? Heh. Something dirty? Of course not. Please enjoy your stay. Ow! That hurts, you old bastard. Once again, Dad pulled my ears from behind. Cut the crap. I'm getting a stomachache. I'm not in the mood for this. You're the guest of honor this time around, so play nice as possible with Dad and Anarchy and the rest. At the very least, be careful of what you say in front of Dad. Got it? Because wisecracks don't go too well with him. Jessica-chan, what's the head's mood been like lately? Same as last year, I guess. Considering they say he's got 3 months left to live, he's as lively, grumpy, and irritable as ever. Meaning this year he's in his usual bad mood. As usual, the only one who's able to look after him is Genji-san. Seems the master will open his heart to no one else. Lately, us small people have not even been granted an audience with him. He shut himself up in his study again, probably doing nothing but that weird black magic of his. What he does for a hobby is his own damn business, but when he starts stinking up the house, it really gets on my nerves. I wish he'd never come out of that study again. Hey. Shouldn't talk like that about the elderly. We're all indebted to him since he rebuilt the Ushiromiya family. We should be more grateful. Well, sorry. After being rebuked by George Anarchy, Jessica had no choice but to take back her thoughtless remark. The Ushiromiya family was wealthy beyond belief, but of course that meant all its members were a bit strange, completely out of touch with the world at large. And at the top of the chain, the family head, our grandfather, seemed especially strange and terrifying, even for our family. Dad said he was getting a stomachache earlier. I imagine that reflected the honest feelings of all of the adults here today. No doubt they were jealous of us grandchildren, who could just play around and laugh without a care. From the stories Dad told me, the family head was a violent man who ruled with his fists, beating his children, even his daughters, mercilessly with a wooden sword. He was so strict and uptight about all that. Why couldn't he have been a little more conservative with his kids' names? Because of that, even us grandkids had to suffer. Anyway, I can't say I have any trouble believing those terrifying stories about him. I don't remember meeting him very often, but I think I recall him looking extremely grumpy all the time, always making people cower with that sharp gaze of his. I remember that the room's atmosphere got so tense whenever he was around, you couldn't even breathe. What my dad said about me being the guest of honor now carries a little more oomph for me. 6 years ago, I was in elementary school, but I'm a high schooler. If I act up, things could get serious. Ooh, scary. He does look frightening, but he's not so terrifying that you need to tense up like that. Nothing of what he says is truly unreasonable. He may be clumsy at talking, but he's a very logical person. But George Nissan, you've been the family darling since like forever because of your awesome grades, right? Grandfather treats us completely different. I've even gotten slapped with a wood sword. And my ass. My ass! On my maidenly, innocent ass. Well, you're the heiress of the head family, Jessica-chan. Grandfather's giving you special attention. You got to realize that his strictness reflects his high hopes for you. Oh, come on. Seriously, I could just turn the succession over to you, George Nissan. It's a bit of a heavy burden for me to carry. I think I already said it before, but Jessica's the girl heir to the head family. We're only cousins in branch families, so she probably feels a totally different sort of pressure than we. Ooh? Jessica Ne-chan, is that heavy? If I help hold it, will it get lighter? Ha, thanks. It's okay, I'm not gonna push it on you, Maria. I'm gonna bear this cross until my grave. Don't worry. She was grateful for Maria's innocent concern, but Jessica's face still seemed to contain some of the uneasiness she felt towards the future. Maybe we are in the same boat. Any high schooler with exams approaching would have trouble hiding their anxieties for the future. Maria, come here. You and I will be in this room. Battler-kun, I heard you're going to be with me in this room here. Oh? No, there's a surprise. It's bigger than our parents' rooms, dang. Well, I figured we cousins would all want to hang out together, so I told them to get a bigger room ready. Ooh! I like it here more too. I'd rather be here than with Mama. Ooh. Oh, you like it here better here too, Maria? Okay, this room is George's and mine, but we'll give you special permission to come in. Better keep it a secret from your mom, okay? Ooh! It's a secret! Aunt Rosa was right behind us, but Maria still answered, striking the air with her fists clenched tight. After settling down their luggage in their rooms, our parents had gathered again in the corridor. Hey, what are you brats planning to do? Are you cousins gonna just stay here and chat? Seemed they were heading to the mansion to announce their arrival. Normally, they would make us follow them and greet everyone together, but if that had been the case, Dad would have just told us to come and that'd be the end of it. He's saying it's okay if we don't come, so what'll we do? Well, it's gonna be lunchtime before long anyway. Better let the kids unwind here. Besides, if worse comes to worse, this might be their last chance to play outdoors. Ooh? I'll go too! Maria, you house sit for Mama, okay? Behave yourself when we're here. Since Maria was being told to house sit here, we certainly couldn't leave her on our own. George Handaki noted this immediately and gave a clear reply for all us cousins. Well then, we'll accept your offer and house sit. We've got lots of stories to tell each other after being away for a year. That sounds wonderful. And Battler-kun has 6 years worth of stories to tell, doesn't he? Yeah. I'll take care of the house like a good boy. Kumasama-san, I'm gonna stay here too. We'll break rank and leave the rest of the adults. Hey. Perhaps that would be best. Oh. I'll report it to Madame. And allow me to guide you all to the mansion. This way, please. The other children are one thing, but George is getting to be an adult. Wouldn't it be better if he came with us? If we make him come, then poor George will be the only one out of place. Interacting with his cousins is also important. Okay, see you later. The adults left one after the other. They left in the same formation as our trip from the harbor, with Goto-san leading and Kumasawa-san taking up the rear. Sec, I need more tea. So much reading. As we gathered in the room assigned to us cousins, George Aniki asked us to excuse him for a second. He rushed over to Kumasawa-san, who was following behind the disappearing adults, and seemed to ask her for something. He soon finished up his business and came back. What's up, Aniki? Nothing. I just wanted to ask her something. Ooh? Tell me too! Tell me too! Hit. What could George Ni-san be asking Kumasawa-san and not me, I wonder? I don't have a clue. No, it's a misunderstanding. Not that I know what you're misunderstanding. Aniki was getting pretty tongue-tied. It was almost as though he felt guilty about something, and Jessica knew exactly what he was worried about. At any rate, it was no fun if Jessica gets to know about it and not me. Hey Maria, it looks like we're the only two out of the loop, right? Don't you want to know what they're talking about? Ooh! We want to know too! We want to know too! Ooh! I fooled around while oohing together with Maria. No, I'm telling you, it's no big deal. Liar. I'm surprised you tell such a terrible lie, Aniki. Confess. Maria, you tickle his right side, I'll tickle his left. Ooh! I've got his right side, Balor's got his left. Ooh! Wait a second. Wait, you two. Ah! Stop! Ah! What is that sound effect? Maria and I played around, chasing George Aniki as he tried to escape, rolling on the bed. I realized high schoolers aren't supposed to bounce around like kittens, but I still miss this kind of fun. A warm, cozy kind of fun. Ha! George Ni-san, what were you asking Kumasawa-san? Well, I've got a good guess. It's been a year since the last time he visited the head family. Who knows what servants might have come and gone during that time. Either way, it looks like he'd like to go and say hi. Ooh? Say hi? I want to say hi too. What the hell? That's nothing to feel guilty about, Aniki. I'm not buying it. Maria, don't be fooled. Aniki's still hiding something. More torture! Ah! Stop it, seriously. Ah! Maria-chan, you too, stop already. Ah! My gosh. Probably busy cleaning or getting lunch ready. Don't worry, she'll drop by to say hi sooner or later. Hit, I bet you'd rather been welcomed in by Shannon instead of that nosy Gota. Hit. Shannon? Shannon. Ah, yeah, I remember a girl with that name. She's still a servant? How's she doing? By the way, Natsui Ne-san, how's your headache been lately? It seemed pretty serious before. I've been much better lately. Thank you for your concern. Oh, right. Here. Present for you, Natsui Ne-san. Thank you very much. I'm always receiving gifts from you. Is this black tea? It's herb tea with peppermint and lemon balm. It's a blend from a well-known store. It's supposed to be good for headaches. I thought it might help you too. Rosa was always a conscientious woman. Probably because she was the youngest of four and much younger than the other three. She managed to grow up without gaining the venomous nature of her siblings. Her kind words got Natsui to soften her expression for just a moment. But it wasn't enough to melt her stony gaze, hardened as it was by long years of mental stress. Come to think of it, you're always complaining about those headaches. Pull yourself together. Jessica-chan has her exams this year, right? That's going to be a turning point in her life. Will she really be able to rely on you as a mother if you're like that? Besides, Natsui Ne-san, you're 3 years younger than me. You should get your act together. I apologize. I've had a tendency for headaches all my life. Even under normal circumstances, Eva sometimes failed to choose her words carefully. But her comments aimed at Natsui contained shards of obvious malice, though she hid it with a smile. Of course, that fact didn't escape Natsui. She frantically contained her urge to grimace and pretend to ignore Eva. Our Battler-kun will have exams this year too. Rudolph-san, shouldn't you be a little concerned as well? For the sake of your own son, you better get serious to the point of having headaches like Natsui-ne-san. If I say anything, he automatically rebels. So what should I say? Should I say the opposite, that it's okay for him to mess around? That's probably the only way I could get him to listen to me. Hideyoshi-ne-san, George did really well on his exams, right? Please, you've got to teach me the trick to handling children. Well, it's probably because I got him to understand why you should study. Study isn't worth anything on its own. That's right, the real point of studying is to practice researching stuff on your own whenever you bump into something you don't know. If you can't do that, you can't be useful to society. I'm not talking about math or writing. You gotta learn how to learn. That's splendid. I wish our Jessica could understand that as well. If she's to be the heiress of the Ushiromiya family, then at this rate, do you really have to force her into becoming the successor? After all, a woman has to find a woman's happiness. Parents shouldn't force such things on their children, don't you think? Hold your horses, Eva. Each family has its own way of raising their kids. You shouldn't be pushy. I'm sorry. Natsui-ne-san, don't take it the wrong way. Though the light shining in through the windows was quite warm despite the cloudy weather, there was a dark mood about the room, which was probably causing headaches for more than just Natsui. As if to sweep away the mood, Kyrie brightly made a suggestion to all present. Still, this black tea has a really lovely aroma. Let's drink it right away. In Japan, surely you couldn't find something like Leopold's black tea anywhere but Ginza, right? I see you know a lot about it, Kyrie-ne-san. I guess it was worth going to the trouble of buying it. Kyrie and Rosa stood up from their seats and made as if to prepare the black tea. But Natsui forestalled them. I thank you both, but we can try that later. One of our people will soon be coming to bring some tea, so please relax. Leave it for later, you two. Let's enjoy our welcome drink. Rudolph gave a subtle signal with his eyes for them to sit down again. Kyrie and Rosa understood instantly and obediently returned to their seats. The initial greeting of the guests was complete, so it was time for them to be served some tea. It was embarrassing for the host that the tea was late, especially now that the guests were talking about making tea themselves. Natsui bit her lower lip, frustrated by the ineptitude of the servants who were late in bringing the tea. Seeing her face, Eva immediately started to giggle. Of course, Shannon had no way of knowing what was taking place in the parlor. He had pushing a serving cart piled with teacups. For no apparent reason, Natsui gave her a pained look. Shannon couldn't help but flinch without knowing what she had done wrong. Excuse me, your tea is ready. Oh, Shannon-chan, it's been a while. You keep getting prettier every time I see you. Oh, thanks. Save the chatting for after you set the table. The tea will get cold. I apologize, madam. She apologized like a small, frightened animal, bumping against the serving cart and made a jarring racket as she dropped several teaspoons. Her clumsiness made Natsui's expression turn even darker, which made Shannon quail even more. Come on, Natsui-ne-san. There's nothing wrong with her exchanging a few words in greeting. The tea must be plenty cold already, considering how long we've been kept waiting. There's no need to worry. It's not cold yet. Shannon finished setting the table quickly. Sorry, madam. Natsui's irritation was obvious now. The ineptitude that delayed the tea, the clumsiness of the servant, everything pointed to the incompetence of Natsui's everyday leadership, making her lose face. As the person in charge of the Ushiromiya head family's kitchen, allowing that clumsiness to be exposed today of all days was surely nothing less than total humiliation. Lay off, Natsui-ne-san. Don't you think it's a little harsh to bully Shannon-chan when she's trying her best? I'm not bullying anyone. What a nice aroma. May I ask what brand this is? I'm terribly sorry. I'll find out for you later. Kyrie was trying to be nice, hoping to cut through the tense mood. However, Shannon had embarrassed herself instead, darkening Natsui's face and the room's mood. At this point, Eva was audibly giggling. What's this? Shannon-chan, don't you even know what you're pouring us? Come now, you mustn't serve something so suspicious to guess. We'll need a silver spoon at the very least before we can drink this. I'm sorry. I'll go get one immediately. Shannon-chan, do you know what silver spoons are used for? They have to be silver. Do you know why? No, A teasing smile rose to Eva's face as she stared at Shannon setting the table. By itself, Eva's expression was sweet in an impish sort of way. However, the words being spun from her lips held the keenness of a razor within them. Shannon tried with all her might to avoid Eva's continuing gaze. Realizing that Shannon was hard-pressed for an answer, Rosa gave some untimely help. They say that if silver is touched by poison, it darkens. Yes, you've learned something today, Shannon-chan. They were acting as though this tea needed to be tested for poison before it could be drunk. Natsui's eyes, this was an insult both to the tea and to herself for serving it. Rudolph laughed flippantly and patted Eva's shoulder. Silver cutlery couldn't do any good for you, Aniki. Just one lick of your poisonous tongue and even a silver plate would turn pitch black. Ha! Since I get to hear that poison tongue every day, I must be poison-proof myself by now. Eva, I don't mind when you use it on me, but you better hold back when talking to people who haven't built up a resistance. Ha! My, how cruel. All I did was teach Shannon-chan a bit about tea, didn't I? Everyone followed the lead set by Hideyoshi's horse laugh and chuckled, though not easily. Only Natsui didn't join in, but for the time being, the conversation inside the parlor could now be mistaken for a lively and friendly chat. As Shannon finally finished setting the table and tried to leave, Kyrie apologized to her in a low voice for not being able to help. Shannon gave a slight bow and made a hasty retreat. Shannon cast her eyes downward as she pushed the cart down the corridor. Anyone seeing the pitiful way she looked might easily conclude she'd been bullied in some way. Don't be sad. You didn't do anything wrong, Ne-san. You were watching. That's my role. Madame Eva-sama can go to hell, but the worst coward is that guy. Shannon glared hatefully in the opposite direction of the parlor. Preparations for the tea had been delayed by some trifling problems in the kitchen. These problems were not Shannon's fault. In fact, it had been Goto's mistake. After all, there was no way a show-off like Goto would give up a flashy job like bringing in tea when the guests arrived. He ended up wasting time preparing the tea once again. When he realized he wouldn't be able to score any points for this job, he pushed the task of setting the table on Shannon, who happened to be passing by. You might call it a clever move on his part. There was no doubt it was a cowardly one. It's okay, Canon-kun. Thanks. I'm not bothered by it at all. Shannon's silence vividly expressed the distance between Shannon's words and how she actually felt. Thank you. Even if you're the only one who understands, I feel a bit better. Keep your feelings too bottled up, Ne-san. You should be less hard on yourself for once. Yeah, thanks. Suddenly, they both felt someone's presence and whirled around. A middle-aged man stood there. It was Genji, the head servant. What are you doing there? Shannon, hurry back to the kitchen. Yes. If you'll excuse me. Shannon humbly obeyed and promptly made to push the cart and leave. However, Kennen appealed to Genji in silence, bearing something in his eyes that he could not express in words. What is this? Did something happen? Shannon didn't do anything wrong. But even so, they... Stop it, Canon-kun. Please excuse me. I'll return to work immediately. Canon-kun, you should go back to your post, too. Please. Say so, Ne-san. That is all. Then go. Yes. You'll excuse me. From the shadows in the hallway, an old woman wearing an apron watched over them. It was Kumasawa. Poor Shannon-san, Canon-kun. There's no reason for those two to get picked on. Still, Goto-san's dislike for them is an undeniable fact. Till Goda-san was taken in by Ushiromiya head family, I hear he worked for a fabulous hotel somewhere. The manner of work he learned there was quite impressive, I believe. It's just that Goda was the newest servant here. He must have a lot of pride accumulated from his previous positions. Because Shannon-san and Kennen-kun are his seniors here at the mansion, yet are inexperienced and have gone through much less in life than he has. He picks on them at every chance he gets. And also, sad as it may be, they are disliked by Madame Natsui too. Of course, if we are talking about experience, the Madame has been in this family much longer. Yet, this is one point where I cannot help but sympathize with the Madame as well. Truly the Master is a man with many sins on his conscience. Why didn't he realize that such a trifling whim of his would give the Madame such an inferiority complex? Of course, on the inside, even the Madame is fully aware these two don't deserve to be treated so harshly. However, the heart has reasons that reason knows not. I feel so sorry for them. I can't do anything but watch over them from the shadows. That's ominous. Four of us cousins were enjoying our stories, just shooting the breeze. Anyway, there were both girls and guys here. Plus, we had people over a wide spread of ages, adult, high school, and elementary school. Even if we just talked about our own lives, the other three just kept listening attentively. I think I'm finally getting used to all this. Jessica and Maria have grown more than I could have imagined in the past 6 years. To be honest, I was feeling a bit uncomfortable, but talking like this, I guess that on the inside, nothing's really changed since back then. I agree. You haven't changed a bit, even after 6 years. Even though your body's gotten gigantic, you're still a kid inside. Ooh! I'm a kid too! I'm a kid too! Well, even you aren't gonna be a kid forever, are you, Maria? I mean, you're gonna transform from a kid into a cute young lady, aren't you? When that happens, that flat as a board chest will reach Jessica's level, huh? When that happens, you gotta let me touch him, okay? The promise. Ooh! Let you touch him. Promise. No! No, Maria-chan! You can't make that kind of promise. That's bad, bad, bad. I promise so I'll let him touch him. I keep my promises. Always keep them. Move. Maria, you're really an earnest good kid. The guy you marry will be really lucky. Hey, stop trying to change the subject by making it sound pretty. Maria, that promise never happened. Never. Ooh, promise is cancelled? Ooh, exactly, Neff. Much concern. As I thought, without Battler-kun in our little quartet, this group of cousins just didn't feel complete. These 6 years have been kind of lonely. That's true. We didn't really goof off like this. Still, we did have some pretty constructive conversations, right? Stuff about preparing for our future, exam taking, finding jobs. Oh, I'm so sorry. Now that I'm here, we just talk about stupid stuff and mess around. But I'm having more fun this year. Ooh. That's true. I agree, this year's the most fun yet. Maria's sincere words probably spoke for everyone present. George Anarchy stroked Maria's head, and she giggled like a happy kitten. Pardon me. Your meal is ready. Timid knocking sound and the equally timid voice of a young woman came through the door. Jessica answered brightly. Shannon, come in! You remember Battler, right? Jessica stood up from the bed and opened the door. There stood a serving girl who must have been about our age. It's been quite some time since we last met, Battler-sama. It's nice to see you after 6 years. It's me, Shannon. Trembling a little as she noticed me, she bowed deeply. Ah! Jessica had me surprised, but look at you, Shannon-chan. You've turned a total beauty too, haven't you? You're too kind. Still, the food on this island must be really nutritional, huh? What are you eating, and how are you training to get boobs that big? Oh my gosh, Battler. Guess I'll have to feel him a bit. Sad face! Guess I'll have to to feel him a bit and see whether yours are just curves or bigger, okay? Slap him. Both hands poised and saliva dribbling from my mouth, I closed in. For the sake of justice and my personal honor, I'd like to point out that I don't suffer from some strange disease that makes my lymph nodes itch until I scratch my neck open, which can only be prevented by fondling breasts. This is just a battler-style method of communication. If I slowly close in on her like this, odds are 8 or 9 out of 10 that I get slapped or clobbered, right? So I can use this battler-sama original technique to spark a gag like that and break the ice. Well, it also means I really do get to touch them on the 1-10 chance though, right? Yeah, like that ever happened. At that point, my hands were less than a centimeter away from Shannon-chan's boobs. Counter-strike had yet to come. Blushed and lowered her head in embarrassment when she realized what was going on. She just stood there with both hands politely joined in front of her, not even trying to resist or cover her breasts. Hey, I wasn't planning on this! Please, hit me right now, or I'm seriously gonna... She was glad that Jessica chose that time to drive her elbow into the back of my head. Ow! Thank you so much, Jessica. Why the hell are you thanking me? Seriously, my bad, Shannon-chan. I almost got overwhelmed by your hypnotic chest. More importantly, anyone who gets that close has got to be a molester. You've got to fight back when people do that. But you are an important guest, Pattler-sama. Now look here, a pervert's a pervert whether he's a guest or not. Girl's chest has got an air defense identification range of about 10 centimeters or so. Once someone trespasses within 2 centimeters, that's already an invasion of airspace, so you better scramble the jets immediately and give them an instant slap. I couldn't do such a thing. Because we are, furniture. Of course she didn't want her breasts touched, but if a guest so desired, she was prepared to sacrifice herself to suit their wants. A girl like this needs some urgent protection. I think such a devoted girl still existed in this era. It's enough to make a man dizzy. But no. No! I'm coming at you with a perverted face again. Knocking me down. Look out, pervert on the loose. This gag can't end until you deliver the punchline, so slap me. Please. Hit me. I cannot fulfill your request, because I'm furniture. But if it were an order, I'd obey you, because that's my duty. Then I'll make it an order. The next time Battler-kun tries to touch your breast, counterattack him with a slap. Got it? Yes, as you wish. Now on, that's what I'll do. Please understand, Battler-sama. Shannon-chan announced this while bowing elegantly to me. Her expression was radiant. I gave her a thumbs up to show her I was fine with that. 6 years ago, you might have been mistaken for a servant's daughter who lent a hand at your parents' work. Now you're a full-fledged adult servant. How long have you been working here? Well, I've had the pleasure of serving this household for about 10 years. She's got her name written like that. The kanji for her name are read as Shannon. Now here's another name that's far from typical for a Japanese person. Back in the day, when I was a kid myself, so I accepted her name without paying it much attention. Thinking about it now, though, her name's pretty unusual, even though she's not a member of the Ushiromiya family. Maybe it's like a servant's professional name or something. If so, that might explain why her name's so similar to Kanon-kun, that kid I met earlier in the Rose Garden. The long-term servant who served here since she was 6 years old. Her appearance had changed so much that I couldn't match her to the person of my memories, but we both knew each other about 6 years ago. That shy part of her had always been there, but she did seem to have developed to the allure you'd expect of a girl her age. Especially in the breasts. Yes. That kid we met earlier, Kanon-kun, is her little brother. He's not exactly my little brother. Still, he loves me like a big sister. He didn't cause you any trouble, did he? Pat. He's the same as always. If only he were just a little more sociable. I apologize if he's caused you any trouble. Nah, he didn't cause any trouble at all. As a fellow man, I understand how moody you get at that age. It's no surprise he's unsociable. Ooh, I get called that all the time, too. I get called unsociable. Just like Canon. Ooh! You aren't unsociable at all, Maria-sama. Maria, you are a darling. Ooh? Wanted to be like him. Ooh. You said a meal was ready, right? Yes. I'm sorry. Your meal has been fully prepared, so please allow me to guide you all to the mansion. Shannon bowed again formally and returned to her duty mode. He realized that if we made her stick around for any more light conversation, it would actually make it harder for her to do her job. We got up off our butts to avoid interfering with her work any further. So, shall we go to the mansion? Everyone's probably hungry, right? Yeah! I'm really looking forward to Goto-san's food. That guy was apparently a chef at this famous hotel, so he's super good at cooking. Ooh, can't wait. Let's go, Maria. We're gonna stuff ourselves like pigs. Ooh, stuff ourselves like pigs! No, you can't take everything Battler says seriously, okay? He's always just joking around. Okay, let's go. With Shannon-chan's guidance, we headed towards the mansion. Met once again by the magnificent rose garden, we continued onward, as the intimidating mansion of the Ushida-miya head family came into view. It had apparently been built shortly after the war, so you could feel the dignity of almost a half-century hanging about it. The building was gorgeous on the surface, but old as it was, equipment such as its AC and heating were apparently quite frail. According to Jessica, midwinter was especially tough, what with all the drafts. Haven't these people ever heard of a kotatsu? We entered the entrance hall. An aged servant greeted us. Now him I remembered. Genji-san, who'd been working here longer than anyone, filled the role of head servant. Battler-sama, it has been quite some time since we last met. As our eyes met, he greeted me with a calm, composed voice. His bow wasn't as graceful or refined as Gota's, but despite its simplicity, it communicated his feelings very well. Genji-san, it's really been a while. You look well. Thank you, I've been quite well. And Battler-sama, you have become a splendid young man. You are beginning to resemble the master in his youth. I look like grandfather? Guess that means grandfather was pretty popular with the ladies when he was young. Heh. From here on, I shall take Shannon's place and accompany you. Please, come this way. Shannon-chan bowed deeply and watched us leave. After that, we headed towards the dining room under Genji-san's guidance. Genji-san, just like Kumasawa-san, stood in stark contrast to us young people who had grown beyond recognition of the last 6 years. His appearance was exactly the same as in my memories from 6 years ago. It was as though time had stopped since the last time we met. Genji-san was an extremely quiet and diligent person. He was basically grandfather's close aide and caregiver. And you might even call him grandfather's companion of many years. In fact, he seemed he was by grandfather's side even more often than my late grandmother was. According to Jessica, grandfather trusted him more than any of his blood relatives. But I wonder how long he served. Never got the details, but I heard something about him being here since the very beginning, when this mansion was first constructed. Which would mean that he's dedicated half of his life to serving here. It's easy to see why he's so trusted. We passed through the massive hall that extended up into the second story of the mansion with no separating floor. I spotted something that hadn't existed in my memory of 6 years ago. It was an awfully big portrait hanging right in front of the stairs that rose to the second floor. Not thinking, I stopped walking, captivated by it. As I'd stopped so fast, Maria, who was following behind me, ran into my back. Ooh? Ah, sorry. Hey, Jessica, has this picture always been here? Pointed at the big, prominently displayed portrait in the hall. Everyone else stopped too. Oh, right. When you last came here, that hadn't been hung yet, had it? When was it again? Well, if my memory doesn't fail me, it was put on display sometime around the year before last. You are correct, sir. In April of the year before last, Master put it on display there, having previously ordered a painter to create it. Grandfather did that? We paid to have it painted just for him, huh? The portrait suited this western mansion, That woman in the elegant dress gave off a sense of refinement. Couldn't have guessed her age, but her sharp eyes and strong will seemed to possess made her look youthful. She seemed somehow different from the composed middle-aged woman you often see in famous pictures. If she'd had normal black hair, I might have assumed it was a portrait of my long-deceased grandmother in her prime. However, she had a beautiful blonde hair and didn't look Japanese at all. So, just who is this lady? Maria answered that simple question enthusiastically, as though proud she knew the answer. Ooh, I know. She's Beatrice. Wait, what? Beatrice. She's a witch. Didn't you ever hear the stories about her long ago? Witch? You mean the witch of this island? I think I'd already said this, but Rokonjima is a small island, only 10 kilometers in circumference. However, that's actually pretty massive considering that only the Uchinomiya family lives here. So only the harbor and the area around the mansion were set up to be lived in. Beyond that, the island remained as untouched as when it was uninhabited. The vast empty forest has absolutely no lights, phones, or people passing through. To understand how dangerous that is, you need to forget your common sense as a city dweller. After all, if you happen to fall down a hole in the depths of the forest and sprain your ankle, no one would come save you, no matter how much you cried or screamed. Then, once the sun went down, the forest would be wrapped in complete darkness, since there were no streetlights. Since there were no signs, it'd be easy to get lost and confused, losing your sense of direction inside that dark forest. Nowadays, most people see a forest as a peaceful place. But to the people of bygone eras, before the light of civilization drove out the night, forests were as geographically separated from civilization as the sea. They were oceans above the ground. Fishermen who go out into the ocean are putting their lives at risk, despite their technical knowledge. The same way, hunters who go out to the forest are in danger, despite having specialized knowledge of their own. If children were to go play in such a dangerous forest, something terrible might happen. Someone's parents must have thought so. Maybe grandmother first said it, or maybe it was grandfather himself. Or perhaps the story's been passed down on this island since ancient times. There's a terrible witch in the forest, so you must not go in. At some point, this ghost story of Rokonjima was born. This is the legend of Rokonjima's witch. That's why, when we talk about a witch on this island, we're referring to the master of that vast, savage forest. Come to think of it, when I stayed at this mansion as a little kid, during those eerie nights when the wind and rain pounded on the windows, I remember being terrified by a story of the forest witch who roamed around searching for human sacrifices. So, Beatrice, huh? When Aniki mentioned it, I searched my memory and I was sure I recalled hearing a name like that when I was little. See. Still, I totally forgot that the witch in the legend had an elegant name like Beatrice. So did grandfather go out of his way to have a portrait made just because we grandchildren didn't believe in the story? He's the witch from grandfather's delusions. Ever since he's had this picture hanged, he's having a harder and harder time telling the difference between fantasy. To us, she's just a witch that exists in grandfather's mind, but to him, she's a being that exists on this island. Exists. He says he had that painting made because the rest of us would be incapable of understanding otherwise. The whole thing's creepy as hell. Milady, this portrait is precious to the master. I beg of you, do not say such things in front of him. I know. Even if you didn't tell me, I'd never do something like that. Jessica glanced at the portrait with an irritated gaze before turning away. Let's go. We're making everyone wait in the dining room. Ugh. I'm hungry. Only a small portion of this island was controlled by the Uchinomiya family. All of the lawless remainder was the domain of the witch Beatrice. You might even call her the true ruler of Rokonjima. I felt a faint revival of that unsettling sense of misfortune, which I felt when I learned of the tutelary god's shrine being struck by lightning. And I remembered that Kumasawa-san tried to tell us an ominous story about Rokonjima before Jessica stopped her. I don't know what she was planning to tell us about that island, but I do know one thing. It isn't the Uchinomiya family that rules Rokonjima. The witch, Beatrice. That's right. After all, this is the witch's island. Battler! Ooh, you're slow! When I looked around, everyone was already heading towards the dining room. I hurriedly chased after them. We walked up to the huge double doors that led to the dining room. Genji-san knocked. I have brought the children. Please pardon the intrusion. The doors were open and we were invited inside. Dining room, which looked exactly like you'd imagine a rich person's dining room to be, had a super long table that was obviously positioned with no purpose other than to make the guests conscious of their rank. Our parents were already seated in accordance with that ordering. You're late, brats. Hurry up and take a seat. Old bastard pressed us to sit. The only gaps in that group of people were the spots we were supposed to sit, which only made us feel our tardiness all the more. The seat at the head of the table, called the incipient's chair, was for the most highly ranked, reserved for grandfather. It was still empty. He probably wanted to show up last for dramatic effect. From the perspective of someone facing the incipient's chair head-on, seating order went from left to right, with the lowest ranking seat progressing in rows of 2 further away from it. So the left-hand side of the first row, closest to the incipient's chair, was where Uncle Cross should have sat, since he was second highest in rank. Looked like he hadn't arrived yet, so that seat was empty. Across from his chair, on the right side of the first row, sat the eldest daughter of the family, Aunt Eva, who was her third highest in rank. Left-hand side of the second row was the fourth highest in rank. There sat my damn dad, Rudolph, the third of his siblings. Across from him, on the right side of the second row, sat Aunt Rosa, the youngest sibling. At this point, you might have expected the husbands and wives to come next. But nope, left-hand seat in the third row, rank number 6, belonged to Jessica. Opposite her was George Anarchy. I sat next to Jessica, and Maria sat across from me. Then, finally next to me, on the left-hand side of the 5th row, sat Aunt Natsui, the 10th highest in rank. Opposite her was Uncle Hideyoshi. Next to Aunt Natsui, in the 6th row, the final seat on the left-hand side, sat Kirie-san. The seat opposite to Kirie-san was empty, even though the silverware had been set there and everything. According to this ranking system, that spot was where Aunt Rosa's husband should be sitting. Even though he wasn't supposed to be coming, his place was made up. Normally, ranking systems of this sort give spouses equal position as their partners. The Ishinomiya family system was unique. Maybe it's a remnant of male chauvinism. If you start with the assumption that a woman's womb is just something to be borrowed, then the children of direct descent would come first, directly followed by the grandchildren. In other words, spouses have no blood ties and are therefore placed at the end of the line. Terrible, but in this system, my grandmother would be ranked even lower than me, even if she were still alive. In their youth, they obey their father. After they get married, their husbands, after aging, their children. There's an old saying, women have no home in any realm. It's interesting how they're talking about this like this, even though Jessica is the oldest of the cousins and has a higher rank than all of them, not George. I find it interesting that that's how they work it out, but long ago, when I was still incapable of figuring all this out, I thought it was so great that we could all chat in our little groups, adult siblings with adult siblings, and cousins with cousins. However, now that I can re-examine the seating order after growing up a bit, it stirs up some very complicated feelings in me. Natsui was married to the eldest son, and the de facto number 2 in managing this family sat to my right, which meant she was 2 steps lower than me in the ranking order. It's hard to imagine what might be going on inside our heart. That's why I made a big apologetic gesture to her before sitting down. How nice to see you, Battler-kun. You've grown quite tall, haven't you? Oh, yep. 6 long years of eating well, sampling various cuisines, and deriving sustenance from Mother Earth's bountiful gifts. Hard work, but I pulled through. Growing just like a boy, I see. How tall are you now? I guess about 180 centimeters, but Aunt Natsui, that's where you're supposed to say, heck, sounds like all you did was eat. Oh, I'm sorry. After a short pause, she did laugh with me, but it seemed she couldn't quite figure out where she was supposed to be laughing at. This woman is Aunt Natsui. She's the wife of the eldest son of the family, meaning that she is my father's older brother's wife. It is simpler if I just call her Jessica mother. Is it simpler if I just call her Jessica's mother? It feels bad to say it like this, but while I didn't exactly dislike her, I didn't particularly like her either. Hardly ever spoke with us kids, and all my memories of her involve her talking to the adults about complicated things with a scary look on her face. In fact, since we hardly ever exchanged words, I spent a long time trying to figure out how I should approach her, though my efforts seemed to have ended in failure. Silverware sat neatly on the table, but the meal itself hadn't been brought in yet. As a general rule, you couldn't start a meal until the person sitting at the head of the table arrived. So as long as grandfather didn't come, lunch would be put on hold indefinitely. Not even the appetizers would arrive. Simply put, the silence in the room was caused by our parents enduring their hunger while they waited for grandfather to arrive. However, the grandfather from my memories would always show up on time to meals like this. He was the kind of person who would never be so late that it kept everyone waiting, especially after the entire group had arrived. Grandfather's pretty late. As far as I can remember, he was always strict about time. Well, that might have been true 6 years ago, but it hasn't been that way lately. In fact, he's off in his own little world, but so often he doesn't even show up at family meals. Still, I figured he'd at least come down today. And again, I feel a lot more relaxed and happy without him. Jessica! When her mother scolded her, Jessica stuck her tongue out and looked away. No way around it. Might as well wait until our host arrives. When I glanced at the clock, I saw it was almost 12:20.